All right, guys. Howdy, y'all. Today we're just going to talk about bias for a little bit, and we'll first share our examples, and then we'll go over the article, see if we have any insight or anything cool that we noticed about it or learned. So, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, sweet.
Okay. So I just came up with, an imaginary example, nothing like out of the news or anything. So I'll just read it. Let's imagine that we just appeared on a new game show and they're giving away up to $25,000. There are 6 doors to choose from. The game show host tells us that in the first 2 doors, the minimum amount of money is $10,000. He also says that in the other 4 doors contain a $1 prize, a $250 prize, a $15,000 prize, and a $25,000 prize. You wanting to play it safe, choose and one of the first 2 doors and win $12,500. You unfortunately suffered from ambiguity bias, the lack of knowing certainly which door contained the grand prize was enough to persuade you to choose the safer route.
Okay.
So basically, the bias in that was that you knew which doors contained not exactly which prize, but what the outcomes could be.
Mm-hmm.
And since the ambiguity bias basically states that suffering from a lack of knowing exactly what will happen, you choose a certain outcome. And so since they didn't know exactly what was going to happen, if they chose one of the wider range of prizes of the 4 doors, they just decided to play it safe. So that was the bias that they received.
Okay.
Nice. Good.
You want to go next?
Sure, I'll go next. Gotta pull up my example really quick. Okay, yeah, so my example is very different. While living in Paraguay as a missionary, I was in charge of finding a house and furnishing it with all necessities for some sisters that were being transferred to work in the same branch. So we're kind of splitting up the area. The district president owned a retail business. He sold everything from electronics, ovens, propane tanks to furniture. I did window shopping with my companion to find the best prices in town. We wrote down the prices and then showed them to the president. He wasn't happy, but said that he could supply the things. Later, we needed a small propane tank to fuel the oven. He offered to supply it, and when he did, he charged us almost more than double for what retail was. This is an example of bias because he was very familiar with missionaries in the church, and he thought that he could make a lot of money from it. So basically, yeah, he was biased against the church because he saw us as rich Americans, and he was going for a profit instead of giving the church a good deal.
Charity.
Mm-hmm. So he was trying to rip us off. Got me so mad.
That's an interesting example. I like it though.
My example, different from both yours. The basketball program was known for its political agenda. If you didn't kiss up to the coach, then the bench was going to be your home. Jenny on the junior varsity team did just that. She wasn't very good at the sport and was slow at running up and down the court. However, because she laughed at all the coach's jokes, the coach became attached to Jenny, especially because Jenny's dad was a big donor towards the basketball program. So when it came time for making the lineup for starters, the coach was more biased to play Jenny rather than another girl on the team. That's from personal experience.
Feel a little bit of emotion in there.
Just a little.
So what? You tell you that one out. That's all nice.
So, compared to one player that was actually good, they didn't play because this other player, their parents were big donors and they did kiss up to the coach, and so that's what got them to play.
Why didn't you do that?
Because I'm not a kiss up. That's why. I work hard for my living. I don't cheat my way around it. So.
All right. Cool.
Okay.
So, I guess, do you guys want to talk about anything else on that subject, or should we just move on?
So one of the questions that she kind of asked us to talk about is how big of an issue is bias in everyday ethical situations? One thing from the article that I was reading was how the auditors, or like big firms will hire accountants and stuff, but they fire them all the time because they don't give them a good audit. And so
Yeah.
that's why accountants have become more corrupt or have given bad audits, because they want to, the accounting firm will be fine if they get fired from one client, but the person who actually does the audit may get fired, and so their life may be on the line. And so people are more willing to, what they said, it was build an attachment to the other company that they're working for, and then the company is more biased to keep them, and then everything is just a mess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like the article. I definitely didn't know that was something that happened with the audits.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I thought that it was more like government run, so you couldn't really fire someone for doing that. But I guess it's done by accounting firms, so yeah,
Yeah.
there's some real bias that goes on in there.
Mhm.
I mean, it makes sense. When it comes down to ethics, you shouldn't be biased. You should just be looking at the facts instead of, oh, well, they treat me like this, and even though they're potentially doing something illegal, I'm going to let it slide.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, business deals, as the actual business, it's okay to have bias.
Mhm.
Like, if you have positive experience with another business or individual in the past, then it's fine.
Yeah.
But with ethics, definitely not.
I agree.
Okay. General discussion about the article. Choose some of the following questions as a guide.
One thing that like just comes to mind one of the questions is, can you think of situations outside of auditing where there are lots of opportunities for bias? What could you do to change that situation? I don't know if I could personally change the situation, but do you know the show Blue Bloods?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing that comes to mind is, cops see somebody doing something bad, but they're willing to like let them slide because they're an informant for them. I don't know if that's actually true, but just on the fictional TV show, I'm sure it does happen probably, where cops are willing to let some gang members slide by, or some bad person, just because they get the money. And I guess politicians are also known for taking bribes, and a lot of people are taking bribes, and that forms a big bias.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You see the accounting major one?
If you were an accounting major, what will you do about what you learned from reading this article?
I know. That's all I was thinking about was my accounting class that I took a couple semesters this whole time.
What's ironic though is that a law class is bringing this up.
Yeah.
Because attorneys are known for being the sharks and the
Bribes.
and the bribes and
Yeah.
being very unethical. It's just kind of fun.
Even in my entrepreneurial management class, talk about ethics. And then like in the B211 class, like that business where you do the what's that? Have you guys taken B211?
Is that capstone?
Yeah, with the capstone.
Yeah, I did take it.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about ethics in that class as well. I feel like it's just like you said, in a lot of different classes talk about ethics just to make sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that's fundamental in business.
Yep, it's key. So I guess from the article, was there anything that stood out to you guys when you were reading it?
Well, I couldn't have said mine.
Like a specific bias that you hadn't thought of or anything?
So even though I chose attachment as part of bias, that's a weird word. I think it's interesting because that one, I don't know about the others, but it's used a lot, what I observe from everyday life, because people will form attachments with other people so that that person will choose them over somebody else, or yeah, I guess that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the one that stuck out. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I was just agreeing.
Oh, anyways, the one that stuck out to me was the familiarity bias. And kind of what came to mind is a sense of people's entitlement. It was talked about in general conference a couple years back. I think it was Elder Oaks or someone. I don't remember. But, or it could have even been Elder Holland. But whoever the apostle was, they said that the more distant the relationship is between the recipient and the giver, the greater or the bigger the sense of entitlement. And so it's the same thing. You know how it says people are more willing to harm strangers than individuals they know, especially when those individuals are paying clients with whom they have ongoing relationships. So I don't know. In my mind, it's pretty much the same thing. You know, the farther away the relationship or the less that you know an individual, the more someone is willing to take advantage of that person.
Yeah, I like that. That was a good little connection there.
Let me see.
Was there anything specific that stood out to you from the article?
I'm looking at it real quick. Not off the top of my head, I can think of right now.
Mm-hmm. I like this question. We should talk about it, or these questions. Can you think of situations outside of auditing where there are lots of opportunities of bias, and what could you do to change that situation? What comes to mind for me is people, like relationships with people and friendships and everything, and how there's a lot of people that look down on others because they don't have as fancy of clothes, or they're a little bit socially awkward, or they're a little bit more of a klutz than almost than like a pro football player or whatever, or track star. And I would consider that a lot of bias, just because someone has different strengths than one of us, for example. It could be us, or it could be someone else that tends to judge that person because of those strengths or weaknesses.
I'd say another bias would either be in recruiting processes or hiring processes. A lot of times, they're looking for like a specific, of course, that's not like obviously a bad thing, but they exclude a lot of potential candidates just on like a few factors that, they don't see as, top qualities. Like, for example, recruiting, like going into the NFL, just an example, Tom Brady. I think he was like 6th round draft pick just because, what the coaches and the organizations wanted wasn't what he had. But that's obviously, they weren't looking in the right place because he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. So,
oh yeah,
just on those little biases, and like with hiring processes as well. If you didn't graduate from a certain college, just because you didn't get into that college doesn't mean that you're not more qualified than the next person. But they might exclude you just because you don't have a certain degree, or you didn't go to a certain program or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or just because you dropped out of school or something doesn't mean that you're not a hard worker or a fast learner either.
Exactly.
And some people are not book smart, they're more hands-on, and so if you give them the job, like they'll do awesome at it. But book smart, like if you have to have a certain grade to get into a job, some people don't make it.
Yeah, it just depends on the job.
It does.
Yeah. So what could we do to change that situation?
I think just not judging others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Taking a pretty fair chance.
Because I think judgment is a huge bias tool.
Yeah.
Yeah, not pre-formulating opinions on someone before you the chance to see what'll happen.
Yeah. As for applying for jobs, figuring out the exact word that they're looking for in their online resume and
Yep.
application so that you get past H1.
Yep.
Why do you think it's so difficult to overcome bias even when you know about it?
I think because bias appeals to our emotions, and our emotions seem to take over our mind and just over every decision we make if we don't learn how to control them.
Yeah. When I look at my own life and everything, just thinking about bias, people have tried to treat me differently or tried to make me feel bad because of my high standards. And so in a way they were, showing bias because they were feeling guilty and they wanted me to approve of their actions when I really couldn't. So I'm trying to justify it, but really it wasn't possible.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have any other questions or anything you want to talk about on this article?
No. Was that pretty much all the questions that I had?
Yeah, it just kind of gave us like a general guide of questions to follow and then expected us to go on from there.
Okay.
I think that's good.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that is really good. All right, so what should I write the paragraph on?
Does it give any specific guidance on, or does it just say write it about bias?
Most important or interesting insight your group gained from the discussion.
I would say the importance of avoiding bias. I'd say that's really important. Like the ethical side of it, kind of like what you were talking about.
Yeah.
I think one thing you could add in there that we talk a lot about is not judging or not formulating an opinion before you are able to get to know somebody, for a job or recruiting or anything.
Yep. Giving everybody a fair chance, a fair chance. All right, sweet.
And I wouldn't want to say like call people out, but like not being afraid to stand up whenever you know someone's being biased and like, I guess sort of call them out and just, say, hey, this isn't the right thing you should be doing. Maybe you should reconsider the options, looking at it, and just making sure that you're standing up for what you believe.
Yeah, definitely. So, I guess that about sums it up, right?
Yep.
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. That was a good discussion.
Yeah, it's been fun.
All right. See you guys next week.
All right, see ya. Take care.